Are you a greater fool? Well, if you've got money in crypto, the Philippines' new central bank boss reckons you are. I'm Joel Flynn. Welcome to the Daily Forkast, July the 22nd, 2022. Forkast talks exclusively to incoming BSP Governor Felipe Medalla about his plans for crypto in the Philippines. Insider trading allegations against a former Coinbase staffer are raising big questions about regulation in the US. Zipmex users still can't get their money out, and how crypto is the new face of an age-old problem being treated in Scotland. This is what's happening from Asia to the world.
Join thousands of NFT traders who already start their day on CryptoSlam.
So, is a ban coming for crypto in the Philippines? Well, according to the country's new central bank boss, not quite yet. Governor Felipe Medalla is no fan of crypto investing, but speaking in an exclusive interview with Forkast, he said there's no plans to outlaw crypto assets. That could offer some solace to the world's fifth largest crypto ownership market, but with the new administration of Ferdinand Marcos Jr. comes much uncertainty for those holding Bitcoin and NFTs. Forkast's Jenny Ortiz sat down with the new head of the BSP.
Various central banks around the world have made their position clear on cryptocurrency. For instance, the Reserve Bank of India wants it to be banned totally, while the Monetary Authority of Singapore is taking its time laying out crypto regulations. But for new Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP Governor Felipe Medalla, banning cryptocurrency in the Philippines is out of the picture.
I don't want it banned, but I don't want to call it cryptocurrency because it has really very little use for actual payments. Especially when the price is so volatile. So to be currency, something cannot be very, very volatile. So in that sense, maybe you can call it crypto assets.
As for the legality of crypto in the Philippines, Attorney Rafael Padilla of Black Devs Asia told Forkast in May that there's an existing legal framework for the digital asset. Meanwhile, data from the Finder Cryptocurrency Adoption Index shows the Philippines has roughly 12 million crypto owners. That's over 10% of the country's population. It also found that Bitcoin is the most popular crypto in the country, with 37.8% of crypto owners having BTC in their wallets. However, the new BSP governor has his concerns.
In the case of Bitcoin, it's also bad for the environment because the amount of electricity that the miners use is bigger than the electric consumption of some countries. So what is its saving grace? Its saving grace is that in countries with so much financial and economic repression, it's a good thing because in countries with terrible financial systems and so on, it's an alternative to government. Now, the other thing that it's useful for is evading monitoring by government. Now, the question is, what social good does that achieve?
Medalla also highlighted the risks involved in investing in crypto as well as concerns over crime.
So my advice always is, well, if you're gonna buy this, don't put in money that you cannot afford to lose. From a policy standpoint, it must not be used for evading anti-money laundering, know your customer rules. So that we in the central bank, our policy is those exchanges where you exchange crypto assets for bank deposits or physical currency, all the rules that are needed to prevent money laundering, especially to finance crimes, should be enforced.
Meanwhile, earlier this year, the BSP announced its plan to pilot a wholesale central bank digital currency project called CBDCPH. Medalla told Forkast the BSP is set to undertake a pilot activity by the end of this year that will prototype interbank fund transfer. Asked whether the Philippines will eventually consider having retail CBDC like the one being piloted in China, Medalla told the Forkast this is still a long shot.
I think the safe thing to do is learn from the experience of the countries that are far ahead of us. So for a small country like the Philippines, I think being a follower, not a first mover in retail CBDC is the more practical and realistic alternative.
In Angono, Philippines, I'm Jenny Ortiz, Forkast.
The first crypto insider trading case in the United States is raising questions about regulation there. A former Coinbase employee and 2 others have been arrested for leaking information ahead of token launches. The Securities and Exchange Commission has also charged the 3 individuals over alleged tips. One of the prosecutors in the case said it was a reminder that Web3 was not a, quote, law-free zone. He added that Coinbase had cooperated with the investigation. Commenting on the case, however, the SEC defined 9 tokens as securities. The nature of the case means the definition likely can't be challenged. Coinbase has disputed the definition, though, and the move could have wide-reaching implications for how crypto assets are regulated in the United States. Meanwhile, Zipmex has extended its freeze on withdrawals with no indication of when they'll resume. Thailand's Securities and Exchange Commission has asked for more information from the company about the freeze. The Singapore-based crypto exchange said on Wednesday it was stopping customers taking their money out. It still hasn't said when it's going to start letting them do so again. The company sent an update to its Telegram group on Thursday that detailed outstanding loans of $48 million to crypto lender Babel Finance and $5 million to Celsius. Media reports, however, have claimed that Zipmex has lost around $100 million to Babel. You can find more details and analysis on all of those stories and more at our website. Head to Forkast.News. There is a link to that in the description below. Now, is crypto investing hurting mental health? Rehabilitation centers around the world are starting to welcome people with gambling addictions from crypto. While some have made millions from putting money into digital assets, others have been made miserable. Forkast's Monica Ghosh has more.
Castlecraig Hospital in Scotland opened over 30 years ago, initially treating alcoholism plus drug and behavioral addictions. However, it now offers rehabilitation programs for cryptocurrency addicts. One 29-year-old in its program, who asked to be known as Roy, told Forkast he got clean from a history of abusing alcohol and other drugs in 2017, only to find things got out of control again when he discovered crypto in 2021. His first crypto success came when an investment of a couple of $1,000s in Binance's BNB token turned into $8,000 within 2 weeks. Roy says that for him, it was an unbelievable feeling sitting behind his computer screen, watching the number go up and up every day, and he got hooked. Therapist Tony Marini says the possibility of wealth can give birth to fantasy, and that can cause people to cross a line.
When you cross that line into the addiction, it's exactly the same as gambling. You know, it's that constant needing to either trade or to put a bet on. You know, it's the money has gone now. It doesn't matter about the money. You know, it's about getting that trade on.
Leah Nower of Rutgers University told Forkast that when thoughts of trading intrude into other life activities, that's a sign of addiction. She also says that while a rational trader may only invest what they can afford to lose, addicts find it hard to stop.
A person who's gambling on cryptos will go, oh my gosh, I lost all this money. There's no other way of making it back, but cryptos are going to take off again, so I'm going to pour more money into cryptos.
That fits with what happened to Roy. He moved into meme coins and managed to turn $3,000 into around $500,000 when prices hit all-time highs last year. But when the market crashed, he became depressed and turned back to drug use before seeking help. Cases like Roy's at Castlecraig aren't isolated either. crypto lending platform Aave set up a rehab program in Switzerland in 2019, saying it wanted to help people in the community. And the Diamond, an addiction rehabilitation facility in Thailand, also looks after those seeking help with crypto trading addiction. Its managing director told Forkast about warning signs to look out for.
I can say it in one phrase: when your life becomes unmanageable. And unmanageable can mean on all end of things. I mean on work, social, financially, in your relationship with your partner, your kids. Everything has to go to the background because the addiction becomes the most important thing in your life. Then you cross the border you cross the line from becoming a trader to someone who's obsessed and becomes an addict.
As with all addictions, the first step to recovery is realizing there's a problem. Tony Marini of Castlecraig said that it's often family members who detect an issue while the addict remains in denial. He says anxiety, depression, and panic attacks when the market turns against the addict can all be signs. Jan Gerber of Paracelsus Recovery, an addiction treatment center for high net worth individuals, says crypto trading is not inherently addictive, however.
If just a random person starts trading, doesn't mean that they will get hooked. It's very complex, also of the mix of underlying issues. So people who suffered from childhood trauma, for example, or who suffer from other mental health issues, who are at risk of depression, or they're close to burnout because of a lot of stress in their life, they're much more prone to getting hooked to these positive chemicals that they get from the volatility of being actually invested in the crypto market, and especially when they win.
Marini explains that at Castlecraig, addicts will go through therapy sessions to identify underlying issues and begin treatment. He also says that complete abstinence is recommended to avoid relapse, as is the case with substance addiction treatments. I'm Monica Ghosh, Forkast.
Well, when it comes to crypto founders, women remain in a clear minority. How could that change, though? How can we make Web3 more inclusive? That's the focus of the latest edition of Word on the Block. In it, Forkast's editor-in-chief Angie Lau speaks to Marieke Flement, CEO of Near Foundation, about the challenges facing women in crypto.
I think that bias is everywhere. I think, bias is by definition, we don't even realize what we are, sponsoring or showing, right? So I think across the entire Web3 space, I think there is still a major bias. If you look at the amount of capital that's been flowing into the industry, and if you look at the composition of the teams who are actually investing that capital, there are very few women who are investing that capital, and the women who are absolutely exceptional, but we need more like them, right? Because otherwise we're still going back into the same loop, into like one way to look at things. And actually the bias is not necessarily just, men, women, but the bias can also be culturally, right? How many times do we see teams who pitch whose English might not be, necessarily perfect, which is also why one way at the foundation that we invest is not necessarily just the foundation investing, but also having regional hubs who themselves are much more attuned to like the local nuances and who will understand better, how to spot local talent, because that local talent can take, any shape and form.
Make sure you catch the full interview with Marieke and Angie. That is out on Monday. If you've got questions or comments about what's going on, drop me a line at Joel Flynn. I'll see you next week.